How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
Happy Mother's Day, Will.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. If there's any mothers listening, happy Mother's Day. By the time this comes up, it's the day after Mother's Day. But still, either way, happy Mother's Day.
It's here.
Yeah. And so hopefully, for any moms that were watching mixed martial arts last night, they got to enjoy some of the fights and some boxing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was overall pretty entertaining night for fights.
Anything that shocked you last night?
No.
You know what really shocked me?
Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll take that back. Go ahead, though.
Is that we're not just on YouTube. You could find us on Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and social media through
at Story of the Fight on Instagram and Twitter, and YouTube, obviously. And we also have a discussion group on Facebook, and that's called
MMA Talk Community by Story of the Fight on Facebook. You know, I might change the name. Can you change the name?
I haven't had a Facebook since 2010.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know. I'll check, because I think if if we make it easier to find, we might get some new folks on there too.
It's a mouthful.
It is a little bit, but yeah. So what shocked you last night?
Not MMA related, but I was surprised with Billy Joe Saunders. I had that fight even up until that last round where Canelo really turned it on. I knew it was like finally an actual, like, not really a test for Canelo, but like kind of a worthy opponent. You know, it's been a while since he's had like a worthy opponent.
Triple G?
Probably Triple G. Yeah, probably the last one. I was surprised he really kind of started to like come into his own a little bit. Could have just been Canelo like making more reads and stuff like that, but I do think his kind of unorthodox style and like timing is really weird. So I think it was just kind of puzzling Canelo for a little bit, and then Canelo.
Then he broke his face.
Then he broke his face. I was just expecting Canelo to be a lot more elusive. You know, it was actually Billy Joe that was making Canelo miss more than vice versa, which is surprising to me. But
yeah, you know, and I was actually going for Billy Joe Saunders last night.
Really?
I was. Yes, I went over to my friend Tommy Rush's house, and he had some folks.
He's got a great
over.
camp. Great corner.
And yeah. Dude, Tyson Fury. I love Tyson Fury, man.
Yeah, repping the Gypsy flag. Ben Davison in his corner.
I was hoping Billy Joe Saunders would come out with the W. Didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he was just. I think after a while, he just got a little repetitive when he'd come in with that right and really duck really low.
Yeah, he was really setting up the uppercut.
Yeah, oh my! And then finally, when he went in with that right, and Canelo's like, "I've seen this about 10 times so far tonight. I know what's coming."
Yeah.
And as he starts ducking, Canelo's already coming up with uppercut straight from Guadalajara, Mexico.
Yeah.
And dude, so when he gets caught with it and almost goes down, you're like, "Oh shit, he got hit hard, right?" Then he sits down in the corner. You see the eye swelling up right away the very next round, and you're like, "Okay, that was a big shot."
I think Canelo even noticed it during the round. I think he recognized the eye, because then you see him like throwing his hand around as he lands shots.
He's like, it's done.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, there's no way he makes it to the next round with that eye."
How about he said he felt it break?
Canelo
said he felt it break after he connected. He said he felt his cheek break. So that's why.
Yeah.
He was like, I knew I had it. You know, I broke his cheek.
Yeah.
To be able to feel it through the gloves. You know, my man's got some power.
Yeah. I hate the narrative I'm seeing a lot is like people saying, Billy Joe quit, didn't even get up off the stool. And it's like, dude, I hate that so much, dude.
Hey, you know, I'm not going to lie. Last night when it was happening in the middle of it, I was like, come on, dude. Like, I've seen, you know, Anthony Smith be like, "Hey, I just got my teeth knocked out. They're falling out." But as he's walking back to the ambulance, I told one of the guys in the room, I was like, "Oh shit, the right side of his face looks sunken in." Like you could see his left eye up here, and his right eye was droopy, and the right side of his cheek was sunken in. And I was like, oh, okay, that was good on good on the corner.
Yeah, and not only that, his head coach is who called the fight off, not him.
No, it wasn't him.
To be fair, as crazy as this sounds, it's one thing to have teeth falling out, right? It's another to have your complete depth perception's now gone. You can't see out of one side. Think about like Tony Ferguson versus Cowboy. Remember when Cowboy's eye was swollen shut? They stopped it in between rounds. Like that's just one of those things. If a lot of the times fighters will lie and say, "Oh yeah, I can see," right? Because if they say I can't see, they're going to call the fight. That's one of those ones where you can't say, "No, I can see out of it," because it was complete. He was like trying to open it and it wouldn't go. So like
it looked a lot worse once he was actually walking towards the ambulance. So
yeah. Plus, it was his corner that called it. You know what I mean? Like
my bad, Billy Joe. My bad, Billy Joe. I shouldn't have doubted you.
Man, what an atmosphere though.
Fuck, 73,000 fans. Our boy George that comes through with some of these transmissions sometimes.
Yeah, our field reporter
was live there. Our field reporter, he was live on the scene, and he wasn't able to get an interview with Canelo.
Yeah, I know.
The one job he had.
Also, I don't know who that was for DAZN doing the in-ring post-fight interview.
Oh,
that should have been George. Did you see he asked the question, and as soon as Canelo starts talking, he's just holding the mic right here instead of like going over to Canelo. You couldn't even hear the first half of his sentence. And then
they started off with the translator having a mic and that guy having a mic, and it was just that back feed that was going off. And I'm like, dude, come on, DAZN, get your life together.
Amateur hour.
If Herb Dean were there, he would have been like, get it together.
Yeah.
Get it together. Man, yeah, they needed George.
It's a stern warning.
But before that Canelo fight, we had a lot of fights.
Yeah, and actually the main event for the UFC ended during Canelo's walkout. So it was like bam, 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 bam. If you only care about main events in boxing, kind of a nice little situation right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see any of the fight right before the main event in boxing?
No, but I heard it was another travesty in judging.
Well, dude, I can't remember his name now. Something.
The Japanese fellow.
The Japanese fellow, yeah, was fighting Soto, and he was getting teed off on. Like, he was just landing on him. It seemed like at will. By the time the 6th round was around, so I wouldn't say it was a terrible stoppage. I think that it made it look a lot worse when the Japanese boxer afterwards was super pissed off. And then after the referee walks away, he starts like doing a couple things in the ring, to like make it look like he's like, I'm still all good. Yeah. He's like bouncing around, and I was like, oh, dude, I like this fighter. He's legit. He's a warrior. But it was a pretty good fight. Super tough.
Yeah. Boxing in general has recently has gotten kind of a shorter leash on stoppages, it seems. Have you noticed that? Yeah, they're a lot quicker to call fights.
What was
which isn't a bad thing
name
necessarily?
That died after his fight.
Which one, dude?
It wasn't that long ago. I mean, maybe a year ago, but I remember I was actually watching that fight live, and I remember thinking to myself, like, man, they probably should have stopped this fight a long time ago because he's taking unnecessary damage.
That's probably why, right? Is because that's not an uncommon story in boxing,
Unfortunately,
I mean, they had to officially change how many rounds they fight in title fights because it kept happening. You know what I mean?
Maxim Dadashev.
Oh.
Maxim Dadashev. And like I said, I watched that fight live. You see him take an absolute beating, too tough for his own good.
Yeah.
They have to help him walk out of the ring, which he probably shouldn't have done. He starts throwing up as soon as he walks out of the ring.
Fuck.
They pretty much drag him to the back, lay him down on the stretcher, and while he's on the stretcher, he's in and out of consciousness, and then he throws up again on the stretcher, and then they roll him out, and then they say that he's, swelling of the brain, they induced a coma, and he passes away like the next day or a couple days after that. And
I think that's also why you see... I think that's also why you see corners in boxing a lot more willing to stop fights, as compared to like MMA.
Yep.
MMA, they just don't even, that's not even like an option, it seems. It's crazy.
Yeah. And we go back to like a lot of people saying the MMA is more dangerous than boxing. I feel.
Yeah, I still don't think it is.
I don't think it is, man. I don't think it is because these boxers take an insane amount of shots to the head repeatedly.
Yeah.
You know, and you see stuff like this happen more often than you do in MMA. When's the last time you heard of somebody passing away after their MMA bout?
Dude, the only thing I can think of, like, one time.
I can't think of.
Maybe twice. I can't remember. There's an Irish guy. I remember, like, I don't know if he was on an amateur scene or just a regional scene.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away. I think it's happened like once or twice. Boxing, the list is like almost endless.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you're right though. That might be a reason why corners are a lot faster to call off fights now.
Yeah, because dude, could you imagine?
Refs are a lot faster to stop it too. They don't want that on their conscience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's been it just seems like there's been a lot of on their feet stoppages lately in boxing, which I'm not complaining about by any means. You know, it's just something I've kind of noticed recently.
Yep. All right. Well, before that, or you said right before the fight started, right? Right before Canelo fight started.
Canelo's walkout was like just starting when they were announcing the decision of the main event for the UFC.
Hey, can I tell you when I knew it was over for Billy Joe Saunders, even though I was going for him?
Was it the walkout?
When he was dancing in the walkout. And it was one of the worst dance move sequences that I've ever seen, ever.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
And I've seen my drunk uncles dance. I've seen a lot of bad dancers in my life, and it was awful.
Yeah.
And you have Canelo come out here with...
Just kind of shuffling on the stage.
Dude, with Pepe Aguilar,
it was a sick, honestly, that was an awesome walkout. I was watching that, I was like, holy shit, what a great walkout.
They went all out for my boy.
Yeah, with the fireworks, the whole band, like, dude, that was awesome.
It was
great
legit.
Walkout.
It was legit.
That's how you walk out as a champion, and you're defending. I mean, obviously they're both champions, right? But he has more hardware, right? That's how you do it. That's how you come out and you say, like, listen, I'm the champ. You know, not you.
Yeah.
Check this out. A Cinco de Mayo weekend, like, come on.
But dude, by the way, too many belts. Come on, what are we doing?
Way too many belts. The fact that still didn't unify. Come on.
Yeah, it's insane. So we had Waterson versus Rodriguez, not Rodriguez.
Yeah, but real quick, Rodriguez. Yeah, but real quick, we do have a long moment of silence.
Oh, an extremely long moment of silence.
Yeah, 9 fights on this card. 10 fights were canceled. We got Cowboy versus Diego. Originally was supposed to be on this card.
Yeah.
Diego has the cult leader as a head trainer who single-handedly gets Diego removed from the UFC because he's an idiot.
He's still hiding. He's still in hiding from what I hear.
Yeah.
From the UFC.
Ryan Benoit, I think is how you pronounce it, was supposed to fight Zaruk Adashev, and he missed weight, didn't continue with the bout. Holly Holm was supposed to fight Juliana Pena. Holly Holm gets injured. Good for Pena because I think she's getting a title shot now. Yep. Good for her. Jimmy Flick was supposed to fight Francisco Figueiredo, the younger brother of Davison, the champ. Flick retired.
He's like, nah.
Yeah. I don't need this at this point in my career. Roxanne Modafferi was supposed to fight Talia Santos. Modafferi tore her meniscus, had to get surgery.
Oof, not fun.
Let's see. Nicholas Mata was supposed to fight Damir Hadzovic. Mata got injured. I'm not sure what it was. Ben Rothwell
can I tell
was supposed to be on the...
You're killing it with these pronunciations so far.
I stumbled on Mata, but somehow nailed Damir.
Hadzovic.
Yeah. Ben Rothwell was Felipe Lins.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that. So thanks for jinxing me. Amanda Hebus versus Angela Hill they got canceled day of because Hebus and her father tested positive for COVID. Also, when they're reporting these things, they need to explain more than just Hebus tested positive because for years we're trained to think that means steroids, but it was COVID.
Yeah.
When she was like, Karen Bryant on the pre-fight show was like, this fight was canceled. He was tested positive, and then they just moved
You're
on.
like, what?
Wait, what? Let me.
What?
Yeah. But
dude, by the way, I really wanted to watch Angela Hill fight. I love watching Angela Hill fight.
Dude, her last fight against was her last fight against Michelle Waterson?
I don't. Let me see. I'll pull it up right now. Her last fight
Another
was
last-minute main event.
Ashley
Yoder. Yeah. She
Ashley
won.
Yoder.
It was the Waterson fight before that.
Lost to Waterson.
Yeah.
I think
Split
Angela Hill
decision.
had won that one.
Mm-hmm.
Lost to Claudia Gadelia. Another one where dude, every time I watch Angela Hill fight, I feel like she's a couple other notches. You know,
yeah.
She's just continues improving.
She might
her
be
game.
like the most consistently growing fighter on the roster right now.
Yep.
Every time you see her, she's
well spoken. She's hilarious. Dude, she puts on fights, man. Like all her fights are fun to watch.
Yeah.
Nonstop action. So I'm sad that I didn't get to watch.
She's part of
her
what
fight.
makes that division one of my favorites. You know, maybe my favorite.
Yep. Probably the most underrated fighter I think in that division.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
You know?
We were supposed to get Francisco Figueiredo also against JP Buys. JP Buys pulled out.
Another guy was like,
the big
nah.
one. Yeah.
Nah.
And then the big one.
Yeah.
The one that was really hard to lose was Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. The return of Dillashaw. Sandhagen probably should already be fighting for a belt if the whole. I hate that division's being held up in such a bad way right now.
It is.
It's just such a bummer because Sandhagen deserves a title shot, deserves a chance. TJ coming back would have been an awesome fight.
We don't know if Petr Yan is going to get an immediate rematch, do we?
I mean, most likely. It depends how long. I mean, if Aljamain isn't like on the perfect track to recovery and fighting again, I think they gave him like 9 months or something like that. If it goes like 9.5 months, I'm sure they're stripping him. Yeah, I think they would just strip him, dude. Honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would agree with it, but I think that I wouldn't be surprised, I should say, if they stripped him.
Well,
because, dude, like, come on.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be disappointed.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel about it, but probably it's not. It wouldn't be the worst thing the UFC has done. You know what I mean?
Yep. So that long list of fights.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the episode's already over.
This card had the potential to be extremely stacked.
Yeah, I still really enjoy the card though. This has one of my favorite. This is gonna be.
Yeah, but dude, we're MMA degenerates, so we enjoy every card. Like we find something out of every card, and we're like, you know what was really interesting about this card?
I know.
Yeah, but when I think to the average fan, it was a decent card.
No name power really, other than Cowboy. But
I don't want to cry too soon though. Let's not talk about Cowboy quite yet.
Yeah, but this card had a fight on it that I would show if someone was like, "Oh, I'd like to get into UFC. What are some fights I should watch?"
Like Richie Casual.
Yeah, this card brought a new fight to that list for me. So that's a win in my book, you know.
That is definitely a win. So Waterson versus Rodriguez. What are your initial thoughts?
First initial thought is Michelle Waterson is like, if she just for the rest of her career is just a last minute main event fighter, dude. Now back-to-back last-minute main events for her that have just become awesome fights. I love this fight. This fight was so fun to watch. It was like the start of it. I was like, this isn't going very well. It's pretty one-sided, whatever. But then there was a switch that got flipped, and she's just so tough, dude. This is that was my initial thought. My final thought was kind of like there's still kind of like an old guard of women's MMA. Right? Mm-hmm. The Misha Tate coming back. I would say Holly Holmes a part of that as well. Michelle Waterson definitely a part of that.
Yep.
And then there's the new breed coming in, like
Marina Rodriguez.
And the old guard is just, in certain situations like this, just refusing to go quietly. You know what I mean? Like, dude, so tough. So tough.
And
there's a couple times in the first 3 rounds that I was like, this might be it. This might be it. Nope.
Yep.
Good. Okay.
And Waterson, dude, she's a baddie, man.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways. right?
Yeah.
But like you said, her toughness, her striking is so crisp, especially with her kicks.
Yeah.
She reminds me of Kung Lee, where
Yeah.
the accuracy with the
sidekick.
kicks
Yeah.
is there, right? Where some people have that accuracy with their hands, she has that accuracy with her feet. And she had this in the earlier rounds, this beautiful 1-2. She'd come in and follow up with that hard leg kick.
She'd use the 1-2 to close the distance, right? And then
yes.
on the outside.
And it was beautiful. So heavy, man. So heavy.
Yeah. Did it a little too
started
much.
catching on to it, right?
Yeah.
As the fight started going, and she started checking it. But, dude, always super fun to watch. And Rodriguez, man, her Muay Thai is legit.
Yeah, really good. Really good. Also, another thing, we've talked about it before, and I got the same feeling again. It seems like referees they have a shorter leash for TKOs when it's women fighting. Once again, this was Herb Dean this time. I think it was either the second or the third round where Michelle was up on the cage for like maybe 2 seconds. And it was one of those blitzes that Rodriguez did probably like four or five times where it was just like bam, 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 bam. And Herb Dean goes, fight back. And then the combo was over. It was literally just a combo.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I mean, she was getting lit up, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, Marina was having success with the combo, but it was just a combo. Like, she wasn't dazed. She wasn't rocked. Like,
the end of that third round, Rodriguez finished so strong where she went in with that combo, had Waterson up against the cage. She hit her with a solid right, which made her nose start bleeding.
Yeah.
And then right before the buzzer there, that right elbow that came in to finish it up. So solid. So solid. And Waterson just smiles and walks back to her corner. I'm like, God damn, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
so
this
tough.
is also, I think Marina would even do well at 125. This was like, they're both strawweights, right? 115, but they fought at 125 because it was late notice and stuff like that. I think Marina would actually have success in this division. Whereas Michelle's obviously too small for it. You know?
Yeah, oh yeah. She got bullied in a few occasions in the clinch. Yeah,
Michelle is on the small side even for strawweight, where Marina clearly is on the bigger side for strawweight. I mean, because I think Michelle has a decent amount of fights at atomweight, and it's just obviously that's not a division in the UFC. But
I mean, most of her weight's in her thighs. That girl has tree trunks, dude. Getting kicked by one of those.
Yeah, like Tyron Woodley, dude.
Yeah, perfect example. Perfect example. But it was a very fun fight, very entertaining fight.
Dude, and I thought Marina did a great job of adjusting in the 5th round, because in the 4th, when Michelle took her down and got her almost in like that crucifix position, she was landing big elbows from the top.
Yep.
And like I said, with the short leash on women fighters with TKOs, I was like, oh no, this could be this could be turning. You know what I mean? Like if the 5th round comes out and she's able to secure a takedown early in the round, there's a very real chance for her stopping this fight. Ultimately, Marina did a great job of adjusting to that, right, and was defending the takedowns in the 5th.
Yep, but that's my concern with Rodriguez, though.
Off her back.
It's off her back, her wrestling.
Yeah.
When she fought Carla Esparza, Carla Esparza had 9 minutes of top control time. 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And we saw her against Waterson, who is a very well-rounded fighter. I wouldn't say she is the top wrestler in her division.
She's not like a top pressure fighter.
No. You know? And the fact that she had such a hard time getting out continues being a concern for me with Rodriguez.
Yeah, a little bit. If you look at like the top, I don't think like Rose, Joanna, Zhang Wei Li, I don't think any of them really mix it up that well. I don't know. They're so smart game plan wise that they might, see that as a big hole and the path of least resistance,
yeah. But I mean,
also, did you see that high kick that I think it was the 5th round that she landed that high kick and really kind of wobbled her, and I was expecting Michelle to kind of turn it on. She didn't really turn it on and pressure after it, but she said she just bit her cheek. I don't know about that, dude. That was it looked like Billy Joe's eye, on the side of her face.
Yeah. Poor Billy Joe. Dude, so the one fighter that we haven't talked about in a while, and that's because of injury, is Tatiana Suarez.
Oh, yeah. So Rodriguez versus Suarez. probably a decently easy night for Suarez if she comes back looking like she did when she left.
Easy night for Suarez.
Yeah.
Very easy. So again, even like let's say Mackenzie Dern, where she has a lot of grappling experience and has a heavy top game as well.
Yeah.
It just she's got some big holes there.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if someone like Mackenzie Dern can really start drilling like power doubles and stuff like that and just getting in, because if they fought now, I think Rodriguez probably pieces her up before she can get close, you know? Similar to like the way she beat Hebus. I don't know, but I love the division. It's such a good division.
Fun division.
You know?
Before that fight, we had Cowboy. Versus Morono.
Yeah.
Man. Before the fight started, you have Cowboy talking to Megan O'Leary, and he's like, unfortunately for Morono, I have all this anger and stuff built up that was going to be put towards Diego Sanchez.
Yeah.
So he's just going to be the unfortunate recipient of this. Talking to my team, and we're talking after this, I might make another run at 155, and man.
Dude, if you look at 155, dude,
Murder's Row.
There's the top 10, and then there's the top 11 through 20 that are all top 10 caliber fighters. I don't see Donald fitting in anywhere in that top 20.
And it's sad to say, man. It's sad to say because, again, for the longest time,
I don't like saying
that. he was a staple of the UFC.
Yeah.
One of those fighters that a lot of not just hardcores, but casual fans knew.
Yep.
And look forward to watching him fight. The 6 fights a year type of thing where he just take on anybody anytime. Dude, his chin's just not there anymore.
No, and he talked about how, like, I was, like, drilling head movement, and, like, I'm going to come out here and actually move my head this time. And he kind of did at the beginning. He was dodging some shots, and I was like, oh, Cowboy actually did implement some head movement. But it didn't matter, It wasn't enough.
Dude,
he was landing some decent shots, just...
Look, and he's going to get one more fight. He's going to get one more fight.
It just sucks because this fight was supposed to be... Yeah, this fight was supposed to be against Diego Sanchez, which probably would have went a lot differently,
Maybe.
I mean, Cowboy probably would have been dead at the end of it, Diego's got that death touch.
He's got the dark arts, dude.
Yeah.
He's got the dark arts.
Did you see the video of him hanging upside down?
Yeah.
God, dude, what in the fuck is going on over there? And I just heard Ali Abdelaziz, whatever his name is, posted today that Fabia is potentially cornering Tony Ferguson in his next fight.
I mean, could there be a more perfect match made in heaven?
I know.
You know what I mean?
It just doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
Like Fabia and Diego Sanchez both corner Tony Ferguson.
And what's his name? Stephan Bonner is also part of that crew. So I don't know what's going on over there, man. It's so weird.
Fabia is the one that runs around with a knife. Stephan Bonner is the one that carries around a loaded gun. They run around after each other to see who can. It's just nuts, man. It's nuts. But, I just wish Cowboy would ride it off into the sunset. He's on a 6-fight losing skid.
Yeah. Did you see the striking stat?
No.
Let's see. In his last 6 fights, Donald Cerrone has been outlanded 422 to 277 on significant strikes.
Wow.
Not great.
He's always been a slow starter.
Yeah. But what sucks is he's getting to the point where, like, people see, like, newer fans and stuff. They don't get the whole, like, BJ Penn hype, because from what they've seen, they're like, why is this guy so popular? Like, why does everybody think he's so good? All this stuff, right? And that's kind of where I see people talking about Cowboy like the guy who got smoked by Conor, the guy who, you know what I mean? Like, it's getting to the point where he's going to be remembered by a lot of fans as these last, like, 5 or so fights rather than the crazy career he's had up to this point,
And
which
it's
is
sad.
a bummer.
It's sad. So he lost to Tony Ferguson, doctor stoppage due to the eye. Justin Gaethje Lost to hooks and uppercuts, so he was stopped.
I mean, yeah, it's
Conor
Gaethje,
McGregor,
right?
Shoulders. It says here head kick and punches. I mean, but let's be real. It was those shoulders that did him in.
The shoulders started it, right?
Yeah. Anthony Pettis, decision, unanimous. Nico Price, which turned into a no contest, but that was a W for Nico Price.
That was a W for Nico, tested positive for weed, right?
Yeah, and now Alex Morono. So it's not like he was losing to lower level competition, I would say, up until Mr. Alex Morono. No offense. No disrespect. But when you take a look, I mean, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor, Anthony Pettis, even Nico Price, man. He's a tough fighter, Nico Price.
Yeah, dude, Nico Price, I think, is so good.
I love him.
He's one of those guys that his record doesn't really show like how good he is.
Yeah.
But even then, 14-4, not bad. But
hey,
if you look
he
at
did get Rafael dos Anjos in submission underground
twice.
Ooh.
You see that? Did you watch that?
No.
So they start right almost in an armbar position, right? Because it's like overtime, so they both get to start in a like compromised position. They either have to escape or they get subbed, and then you compare the times, right? Because like say I start on your back with backpack, I try to get a rear naked choke. If you get out, call it. If I choke you, say in like a minute 20, then you start on my back or in an armbar or on a leg lock or something like that. And then you go, and if you sub me, you compare the times, right? That's how they decide it. He starts an armbar. Yeah. He starts an armbar on RDA, subs him. RDA said, I never tapped. Come on, I never tapped. And then Cowboy's like, all right, let's just run it back then. And so they run it back, and then he subs him again.
Oh, fuck.
It was pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. Only Cowboy, I swear.
Yeah.
But see, and that's the type of stuff that like you and I will remember. Mm-hmm. Right? A lot of the fans that have been watching MMA for a while will remember back from the WEC days. It was nice to hear Dominic Cruz too, like talking highly about Cowboy and
all the submissions in the WEC.
Yeah.
And then comes to the UFC, starts knocking everybody out. Yeah, it was cool.
It was so nice to hear that too, you know. But
yeah, you look at like the losing streak that you mentioned, right? Tony Ferguson, Gaethje, Conor, Pettis, Nico Price, like killers, right? But then you look
all killers.
Right before that Tony Ferguson fight that started that losing streak, 3-fight win streak against Mike Perry when Mike Perry was very tough. Alexander Hernandez, which everybody thought was like this crazy upcoming prospect, right? Very skilled. And then Ali Cuenta, who was on a roll. So like it was going all right, and then it just kind of dropped. And that's kind of what happens, you know. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens.
It's unfortunate. These things happen.
And props to Morono for stepping in at short notice, you know?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
You know? He did what he had to do.
Absolutely.
Good killer instinct.
When we take a look at his overall record, right? Lost to Leon Edwards. We all know how much of a beast Leon Edwards is.
Yeah.
Lost to Darren Till.
He should have never been a welterweight.
No.
He should have never been a welterweight.
Lost to Robbie Lawler, Jorge Masvidal, RDA.
Yeah.
So he's had a hard time with some of like the upper echelon.
Yeah. But then you look at some of his wins though, dude. Like come on, man.
I know. It's just
again, Jeremy Stevens, KJ Noons, Edson Barbosa, Jim Miller, Eddie Alvarez, Miles Jury, Benson Henderson, McDessie, Cowboy Oliveira, Patrick Cote, Rick Story, Matt Brown, like, dude, many awesome fights.
With all those folks that you just named off right now in his wins, I would still say there's another tier, and that tier is the one that Cowboy kept on picking up L's from.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely true.
Man, it was sad to see.
Dude, remember his KO over Melvin Gillard? Damn, what a good one. Where he high kicked him.
The one awesome. I keep on thinking about is the one with I think it was Alexander. That combo.
The high kick?
Yeah, where he ended it with a high kick.
Dude, the one that one of the most beautiful combos in all of MMA history was his against Rick Story, where it was like body, dodge, head. It was just like do, and it was like holy shit. It was like a six strike combo, I should say. That was just absolutely beautiful.
Prime Cowboy, dude. Prime Cowboy.
Yeah. Even that was probably post Prime Cowboy.
Maybe a little bit.
You know? Yeah. towards getting close to it at least. But
yeah,
that's pretty much all I have. Probably retire.
same.
You see what he said?
He's gonna get one more fight though. He's gonna get one more fight. I think he's done so much for the UFC that Dana will say, "Dude, I'll give you one more fight, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like we can't keep on doing this."
Did you see what he said after the fact?
What?
He said, "Yeah, maybe it is that time." He's like, "Maybe it is that time." Why am I blanking on it?
Something about like him not wanting to end his legacy like this.
No, it was like maybe it's not that time. I feel great, but obviously my production or my results haven't been how I feel. And it's like, damn. He's like, it's a hard realization to come to.
They all get there, man. They all get there,
Yeah.
and he has the BMF ranch. He has his wife, his kid. He has Joe Schilling and D-Rod to do shrooms with at BMF ranch. So live the life, Cowboy. Live the life.
Yeah, definitely.
Before that, the battle of a couple Neals. We had
This is so frustrating.
Neal Magny versus Geoff Neal. By the way, Geoff Neal from Fort Worth over here, from XKO, fighting out of Dallas. Your boy, hands of steel, Neal.
Yeah. Also, terrible commentary by Dominic Cruz in this one. He kept going.
Don't get me going.
He was just like, "Oh, Neal's doing this really, really well." It's like, dude, you can't just say Neal in this fight.
Yeah.
You have to say Geoff or Magny. Like, you can't just say Neal. He did it like 10 times.
I had to do it in my notes so I wouldn't get confused.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no nonsense. Keith Peterson dislikes Dominic Cruz for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one of them. But Geoff Neal seemed really prepared coming into this fight. I thought he had a good game plan. He was ready for Magny's level changes.
Did a great job defending early.
He did. Did a good job preventing some of those hooks. Like he was somewhat elusive.
Yeah.
But there was just this really high output from Magny throughout the entire
I was
fight.
so surprised that Magny was the underdog coming into this fight. When they said that, I was like, should I put money on this right now? Because I feel like Magny, time and time again, it takes a very specific style to beat Magny, And I just didn't. Neal is you hate to say like sprawl and brawl, right? Because it has like a negative connotation, right? But like he defends takedowns and he lands his 1-2. His 1-2 left high kick. That's what he does. And he does it really, really well. He hits hard as fuck. They're straight shots. His head movement's really good. But you need to be more varied to fight someone like Neal Magny. And you have to have top tier cardio because Magny just won't slow down. And early I thought Neal won the first round. Geoff Neal. I thought Geoff Neal won the first round. Here I am talking to Dominic Cruz, and I did the same thing. But Magny just once again, and it might be one of those things, almost like the Diaz brothers, right? Where that first round they might lose it, but they've now established a pace with you, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, that they know that they can sustain, but that you cannot. Like, you will start to slow down, and I'm not going to. So you can have the first round at this crazy high output, but I know rounds 2 and 3, you're going to start tapering off, and I'm not going to, and I'm just going to start passing you up, And that's kind of what ended up happening in this fight.
I thought it was a close fight.
Yeah.
Maybe I took the power of the shots or like the sound of the shots and what seemed to be like
cracking.
More impact.
Geoff Neal was
cracking, man. And
that left,
you could see
the straight coming off the jab.
Yep. And you could see Neal Magny's face start wearing it a little bit. So maybe because of that, I felt like it was a lot closer than I thought. But I personally had 2 rounds to 1 Geoff Neal.
See, the round 2 was the decider, right? That was like that's the swing round. Because round 1 was a clear Geoff Neal.
When Neal Magny got some takedowns, I feel like Geoff Neal did a really good job of getting back up quickly.
Dude, he really, really impressed me with his grappling.
Me too.
Magny is a blanket. He smothers.
Neal Magny does a really good job as soon as he starts taking your back a little bit, because a lot of people stay on that one knee trying to use the cage, of getting that long ass leg around and hooking in, and you're done after that, right?
Yeah, he gets that hook in.
Geoff did a really good job of fighting that knee, right? Of fighting the knee and preventing that hook, which allowed him to get back up quickly after that.
Yeah.
So,
And
again, I thought Geoff was really well prepared. Really well prepared coming in this fight.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it was a fun fight.
It was.
The Battle of the Neals was a fun fight. And it sucks.
There can only be one. So Geoff is going to have to change his last name.
Yeah. I think it's another one, back-to-back fights for Geoff Neal where they're like really big learning opportunities. Wonder Boy and then Magny. Two very different styles, two very different looks,
I'll never forget the story about Geoff Neal and his kick.
Dude, all I can ever think, anytime I see him, anytime they talk about him, all I can think about is Camacho's story.
Our boy Frank Camacho.
Go back.
Yeah, but it's one of the funniest stories. Dude, we got to try to get Frank back on.
He has a fight lined up. We should get him on before his fight.
That's not a bad idea. We'll reach out to him. We'll have our people call his people, and by that I mean I'll send him a DM. And all right, we have
also
Marco.
Congrats. He just had a newborn baby.
That's right. He did have a newborn baby.
Happy Mother's Day to Camacho's wife.
Yes, absolutely. To all the moms out there that listen to Story of the Fight.
Yeah.
Marcos Rogério de Lima versus Maurice Greene. By the way, Maurice Greene reminds me of like the fun, crazy uncle in some like family sitcom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just like the goofy fun uncle that always like takes like jabs from the rest of the family, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's so funny,"
He doesn't.
That's
mind.
Maurice Greene. Really, he's dying inside.
Yeah. What a terrible fight.
Yeah.
I try not to like shit on fights and stuff like that, but man, just nothing. The most interesting part of the fight was a foul at the end of a round. It's the only thing of significance the whole fight,
Yeah, I mean Maurice Greene, man, lost to Greg Hardy, lost to De Lima. I mean, I don't know how much longer we're gonna see Mr. Greene in the UFC.
Probably either of them, if I'm being honest. I'm sure Dana wasn't super stoked on De Lima's performance, and he's had a lot of ups and downs.
But you know whose performance I was stoked on? Gregor Gillespie.
Are we moving on?
Yes.
Wait, real quick, before we do that, I have one more thing to say. Also, Herb Dean. After the foul, right, the late shot, the start of the next round, he goes over to De Lima and says, "Hey, that shit happens again." He's like, "I know he eye poked you. Yours was way more serious." He lands a big shot after the buzzer, almost in retaliation of an eye poke. And he says, "Next time it's going to be more than a point deduction." But he never deducted a point. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I
think that's where he said, get it together.
Yeah, but don't say next time it's more than a point deduction.
Yeah.
Take a point and then say, hey, next time it's more than just that.
Or just say, hey, it will lead a DQ.
Yeah.
But don't say it'll be more than a point deduction when you didn't deduct a point. I'm with you 100% on that one.
Yeah, not cool.
But this is one of the fighters I'm more excited to talk about going into recording the pod is Gregor Gillespie. Dude, this
fight was exhausting.
But how fucking fun was it to watch high level grappling?
Yeah.
Right. So for all the folks who are like, "Oh man, it's back down to the ground. When are they going to strike?"
The people who were upset about the last fight we just talked about.
Yeah.
The difference between that's what made that fight even worse to me is the fact that it was coming off the heels of this fight. But man, the difference in grappling between the two fights is just insane.
So, not one sweep that we saw from Greene, but even
an attempt.
But in this fight, dude, it was just beautiful to watch, man. That first round was just transition after transition, sweep after sweep.
Crazy, man.
And dude, I love how at the end Gillespie's like, I know to get him tired, I have to get tired. And I just love hearing that because time after time you have this machismo where they're like, "Oh, I wasn't tired. I can go another."
The honesty from him. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I had a buddy from Geek Squad messaged me after that fight.
Yeah.
And he said, as soon as the fight ended, he was like, "Great fight. Those transitions were so smooth." And then he was like, "Second wind?" or playing possum, like he was pretending to be tired. And I was like, I don't even think it was. It definitely wasn't playing possum. And I was like, I don't even think he got a second wind. I was like, people who wrestle their whole life are just used to going through that. He just outwilled them. And then in the interview, he basically confirmed that. Yeah, in the interview, he basically confirmed that, right? It wasn't like, oh yeah, I really recovered after round 2 or after round 1. In between rounds, I like really calmed down and I had a second burst of energy. Dude was exhausted. You just push through that exhaustion, you know? Some people are able to do that.
DC has a new man crush, and it's Gillespie.
I know, yeah.
But when DC was like, when you saw that you had hurt and then he was getting tired, did that give you a second win? He should know more than anybody that wrestlers are just built different, man.
I know, yeah.
They're just built different.
I almost feel like it was almost like a layup question for him to say that, you know? Like DC knows, but DC thinks that everybody else is thinking, oh wow, really great recovery, right? And I feel like it was almost like a layup question for Gillespie to be like, nah, dude, that's just how I just perform under those
just how
conditions.
We are.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just such a good fight. I will say Diego Ferreira seemed to be getting the best of Gillespie on the feet.
Yeah, that's what happens when you miss weight by 5 pounds and you didn't have to go through that exhaustion before the fight.
he tagged him a few times, man.
Yeah, and during that first round, when because he would get taken down and they weren't landing in traditional positions, right? Never was it a takedown to guard or half guard or side control. It was always like a takedown into a scramble where nobody really has the upper hand, and then Ferreira escapes, and it was just like the whole time I was like, fuck, man, like this looks like a very talented wrestler fighting someone who's also very skilled on the ground who didn't have to make a weight cut. That's what it looked like. And I was like, fuck, dude, if he wins this, because it was just like one of the most clear examples of why you have to make weight and how much of an unfair advantage it gives when you don't make that weight cut. Because, dude, when you miss by 5 pounds, you didn't even get close to that push yourself moment, you know, that exhaustion moment. That's as close as I'm willing to go.
Thing that probably prevented him from pushing those last 5 pounds. It's the same mental toughness that prevented him from actually gritting it out like Gillespie did. The mental toughness, the heart. Dude, for me, one of the most impressive wins that I've seen Gillespie have. You know, and when you think about it, I think his only loss has been to Kevin Lee, right?
Correct. And that was a back and forth fight up until he got high kicked.
Yeah.
They were just jabbing and straighting each other. That was a great scrap, right?
He got caught. He just got caught.
Yeah.
But man, I can't wait to watch Gillespie fight. The only problem with that is that he doesn't like to fight a lot.
It seems like he might be changing his tune on that.
I hope so.
Because he talked about how he was out for so long that he kind of started to question whether or not he can actually beat people in the UFC anymore. And that's probably not a good place to be mentally. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to maybe try to get in there more often, you know, and just avoid that whole mental dilemma.
Let's do it, because he's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
He's going to go fish now. Chill.
Yeah. Obviously, this is the fight I was mentioning where I was like, a fight jumped into my list of what to show people, you know, because like you said, this shows you the potential of like how awesome grappling can be in the UFC.
Yep.
So for a new fan who obviously they're probably at first, they just want to see knockouts, right? You show them this fight and they're excited when stuff goes to the ground after this, you know?
Until they watch the Lima versus Greene fight and they're like, oh wait, that's right. Yeah. That's why I enjoy striking more.
But then you can show them like, I don't know, like that one Cindy Dandois or whatever her name was. Remember that fight where she was just like, and like nowhere close, and it was just like, so because you can have boring stand-up fights too, you know. It's like you look at the fight like the Lima versus Maurice Greene.
We just had one recently. Who was the guy? Remember that I was like, he didn't really show us very much. God, who was it? I don't remember.
But like that happens, right? And people, it's crazy because people will watch a fight like De Lima versus Greene and be like, yeah, see, this is why I hate when it goes to the ground.
Michelitis versus KB.
Oh yeah,
That's
God.
what it was.
But at least that was at least one side of the equation was being aggressive and trying to land big shots. In that fight. Some fights it's just absolutely nothing, right? People look at Adesanya versus Yoel Romero, and they're not going to be like, man, striking's so boring. But when they look at Lima versus Maurice Greene, people are going to be like, wow, grappling's so boring. I hate when it goes to the ground. Even though in both realms you can have crazy fights or you can have complete stalemates where nothing's really happening. It's just grappling gets the short end of the stick as far as like perception goes. But
Yep.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. I guess too. There's with striking. There's always the threat of one shot knocking somebody out. Whereas on the ground, it's a lot harder to just get like a random submission. Right? It definitely happens, but I don't know. That fight though, Gillespie versus Ferreira was just absolute insanity. That first round was so nuts. It was just
like you
so
said,
crazy.
You just feel tired after the fight was over. And you're like, oh
Dude,
my god.
This was watching this yesterday. I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine on Friday. And
Nice.
Yeah, overnight. Woke up in the middle of the night with like a fever and like my whole body was aching and I was just like
Really?
struggling. Yeah. And I was like, man, at least it's probably like 4 or 5. Like I can get up soon. And I like leaned over to grab water and I saw my phone on the charger and it was like 12:30 and I was like, I have a full night of this. But so I pretty much stayed on the couch like all day yesterday. And body already like exhausted. All my joints were aching and stuff. And I don't know about you, but whenever I'm watching like really high level grappling where there's like sweeps and position changes and stuff like that, I tense up. I'm like leaning. I catch myself and I was like, oh, relax. This one, it was like my whole body was tensing up and my joints were hurting. And I was like,
do you ever twitch?
Yeah.
I know. Me too. It's so embarrassing. Me too. It's so embarrassing. Like I'll have people over and then like something crazy will happen. Like I react to it. Like I twitch. I'm just like, I hope nobody saw that.
Yeah.
Because
I know what you mean.
Same thing. I'm all tensed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when something like that happens, it's just like
Yeah.
can't help it.
I think it's because when you train like jiu-jitsu, it's like a natural instinct to like, I don't know, it's weird. Like you look at like Chuck Liddell when he watches fights, when it's stand up and you see him in the crowd and he's like all focused and he's like leaning and like looking for positions almost, and you're like, yeah.
And then he gets knocked out and nobody touched him.
Yeah, he does a line of coke and it knocks him out.
Jesus, dude.
With all due respect.
With all due respect, we love Chuck Liddell.
With peace and love, Chuck Liddell.
We love Chuck Liddell.
Yeah.
So Phil Hawes versus Kyle Daukaus, man. Dude, Daukaus had Hawes hurt.
Dude, that second round was crazy. The second round when he threw the high kick and then he came around with the back fist. What a crazy round that was, because the start of it was Daukaus
the first
landing
half.
that, Hawes almost out on his feet and just teeing off on him, and he's just like his eyes are just lasered on Daukaus and his head's snapping and his eyes are like staying right on him. I was like, oh my god. And then the second half of the round was the complete opposite.
It was all Hawes.
Yeah, it was all Hawes.
And he carried that momentum.
It was a fun scrap, dude. Yeah, it was a fun scrap.
Yeah. Dude, heavy top pressure, and this is I love watching grappling too.
Yeah.
But when you have a fighter like Hawes and like another fighter we'll talk a little bit later on down the road here, where there's just action and they're trying to do damage, where they're in that top heavy position, they're not just laying and praying. I just love that. And Hawes was trying to do work, man. He did that last round.
Because I think he could sense that Daukaus was almost gone at that point. That last round, he was depleted, and everyone's like shitting on Daukaus' cardio, at least online that I saw. Dude, he was landing massive shots to the body the whole first 2 rounds. I think everything was emptied out of him, He looked like he was in like physical pain off his back. Like you see his face and he's like wincing with stuff, and I was like, damn, Hawes is putting it to him right now. It was
and if you're Hawes and you see that wincing and shit like that, like that's why like a lot of people will be like, dude, why do fighters do that? When they get hit and they like shake their head or they stick their tongue out, they do something. Like, I'd probably rather show that than wincing, because guess what?
Yeah.
They smell blood, dude.
Yeah.
And they're going to come at me fucking crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'd rather... Yeah, because he was like, ugh, after getting no, the guy's like, oh, let me get more of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
So, before that, though, we had Klein versus Trizano.
Yeah.
Some crisp boxing from Trizano.
Yeah, there's a good showcase for both of them, I thought.
I thought so too. Dude, Klein, especially in the first round, was so fast.
Yeah.
Especially with his lead hand. In and out,
could tell,
really sharp.
You could tell he is like, there's like some strikers in the UFC that are really good, effective strikers for MMA, and then there's others that are like Giga Chikadze, right? Where they're like, their technique striking wise is just another step above most like MMA guys, you know?
Yeah.
Guys who just specifically train MMA. Yeah. Another level to his striking, you know?
Dude, we can't talk about this fight without talking about Trizano's mullet.
The mullet, I know. Yeah.
Dude,
it's a good
again,
one.
There's levels.
Yeah.
And in this case, there's levels to the mullet game. Trizano's up here, man. I put him up there with like a Theo Von. You know, it's really,
I would say probably
really
above Theo
mullet.
Von, to be honest.
Oh.
This was because this has like the curls and like the volume in the back, you know? Where Theo's is kind of just like straight, little, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but man, I feel like Theo
has
like
almost
that.
like a let me speak to the manager front.
Yeah.
You know?
But
it's supposed to be business in the front.
Oh, okay.
It's business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Theo's is like, go back to your country in the front, party in the back. You know? You know what I mean?
Maybe I'm giving Theo a lot of credit because he's like one of the originators.
He kind of started the comeback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so props to Theo Von for being the leader of the mullet gang.
Of the charge, yeah.
Of the charge, but dude,
but Trizano taking it to another level. Like you said, there's levels in the mullet game.
As the fight continued going on, Trizano started getting that timing down a lot more. Mm-hmm. And he was just having solid work off those counters.
Yeah, a lot of people too were upset about the decision because they thought Klein with the takedowns should have won. Even the commentary was like that. Dude, GSP kind of started this. GSP, when he went to Greg Jackson's, they really kind of figured out the formula of point fighting, right? Which is close but edging you out on the feet, takedown with 45 seconds left, end the round in top control. That's your round now, right? I understand that, but the reality is, didn't do anything with the takedowns. A takedown with 30 seconds left, and no advancing, no heavy shots, just a takedown with 30 seconds left because you know it looks good on the scorecards. Doesn't do much for me, if I'm being honest.
I feel you, man. I feel you. Do you have anything else on this fight?
No, it's one of those fights. I think that both of these guys, I think, have like real high ceilings, you know, potentially. And I think Klein had a lot of hype going into this fight, and I think it maybe tapered some of people's expectations of him. But I don't think so, because ultimately it's 15 more minutes of octagon time, and it's when you're a young prospect like that kind of stuff is like invaluable, you know, especially against another prospect that actually has a bright future. You're not just fighting cans, right? That's a big 15 minutes to put in his arsenal now, you know, more comfortable. Sure. He's just got the feel for it.
Glass half full.
You look at Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori, their first fight. A lot of people at the end of that, because Adesanya had a ton of hype too, right? Came over from kickboxing, really exciting striker, was looking like a world beater when he first started. He has that fight against Vettori where he was kind of stuffed against the cage a little bit. Wasn't like his most impressive win. And a lot of people kind of lowered their expectations of what he's capable of. Then he goes out there and
now
he knocks out Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa, one of the best middleweight fights of all time against Kelvin Gastelum. So like, I think everybody has those fights in their resume, you know, that are kind of long fights that aren't the most impressive as far as like flashy moves or anything like that, but ultimately they grow from it and like learn from it. And so I think this is kind of one of those fights for Klein.
I agree. All right, so before that, Park versus Nchukwi.
I love this fight.
Dude, hold on.
People shit all over this fight, but I loved it.
Park?
Yeah.
Is that Staff?
Gotta be Staff.
Either Staff or he took a fucking bullet to the chest recently.
The Iron Turtle, dude.
Dude. But even Mindy, because she only watched a couple fights, and that was one of the ones that she was watching. She's like, what's up with this chest? Is that a bullet hole?
It's gotta be
pretty sure that's Staff.
It's gotta be.
It was gnarly, man.
Yeah, it was a bad one. And Nchukwi was busted up in the face, bleeding all over the place at the end of the fight. Staff right in his open wounds.
Staff in his open wounds. Blood just dripping into Park's open wound.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things that I was thinking about. I was like, man, hey, let's wipe that blood off before you make him put on that Venom shirt. Because he's like, they wipe his forehead a little bit, his face, and then he's got blood everywhere.
They probably didn't want to touch it.
Throw the shirt on, bro. And
He probably didn't want to touch it.
That's true.
Probably just get the shirt over.
Oh, dude.
But you love to see it. You love to see Nchukwi end up on his back, bloodied up, getting the shit beat out of him in the third round. Couldn't have asked for a better result,
Dang, what's up with Nchukwi, man? Why do you?
He's a Lloyd Irvin guy,
Oh, is he?
Yeah. So going into this fight, I was like, "Fuck!" I really like Park. I think he's a fun fighter, So I was like, "Man, I hope he just fucking flatlines Nchukwi." Because, dude, fuck that, dude.
When he gets kneed in the balls. And
twice? Come on, dude.
The first one, he's like, oh, and they're like, something happened. Maybe because something to do with his hands. And then the second one, Tognoni, great job.
Yeah.
Great job, Tognoni. When he pulls him off to the side, he probably missed the first one, but he caught the second one. And then while, he's recovering, tells him, no coaching right now. Hey, throw the replay on real quick. And based off the replay, he made the decision to take the point. It was great reffing. Yeah. Great reffing by Tognoni. But I thought it was hilarious where Dominic Cruz was like, and they take the point away, and Park's fine now. He's got energy. Yeah. He just bounced up. And I was just like, oh. Because he's on the ground just like, oh.
Yeah.
Point taken. He's like, all right, let's do this. And he stood up, and I'm like, oh, shit, man. Called him out.
That's how you do it, dude. That's a veteran move right there from Park.
Dude, Park's
put on some bangers lately, dude.
He has.
I really like him. He seems like a cool, fun dude.
Another example of getting top position and doing something with it. That ground and pound, those elbows were nasty.
Busted him open. There was a good amount of blood in that fight. Ended up kind of like a little bloodbath,
Yeah. Which was, again, not wiped off of Park's body, but whatever.
Also, I wonder if they clean that up because, that's potentially staph infected blood on the mat now for the rest of the night. This was the second fight of the night. We still got
that's a good point. Because I remember when COVID first hit and in between rounds, you would see the guy going around spraying. Yeah. And he'd even begin the fucking cameraman and he'd begin the fighters sitting on the stool and stuff. And he's just you don't see that very much anymore. Yeah,
I don't know if they do that where they're cutting to the walkouts maybe. And they're just in there scrubbing real quick, because fighters have talked about the mats feel slipperier and they're slippering more. And I wonder if it's because they're cleaning them in between fights. But I don't know. You probably should disinfect that a little bit for the next fights. Imagine you end up in that corner where there's blood all over the mat.
That's all
you just got busted
about.
up, and you have to go to turtle position or something with your forehead on the mat, and you're like, no.
Not Park's blood. No. Dude, do you have anything else on that fight?
No, but other than Park, I think has a real opportunity to grow in the top position, right? I think that's a real strategy from him. His jab looked great, but dude, he is dominant on top, and it's not even something that he really I remember his last fight, he broke the record for maybe most top strikes, most ground strikes from the top position in the middleweight division in history or something like that. And they told him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my grappling coach is going to be surprised," or something like that. He said something about how everybody in his school thinks he's bad on the ground or something.
That's
awesome.
Man,
if that's his floor level right now, dude, if he starts really putting energy into growing that top position, that top game, dude, he could be really dominant with that.
Yeah.
Iron Turtle, man. Also,
that's awesome.
Once again, fuck Nchukwi, fuck his whole team, fuck his coach. Out of here. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it.
Take care of that staff. All right, so
no, don't
Aguilera,
even just let it go.
Just let it fester?
Let it fester. Spread it to the whole gym first, and then and then call it a day, and then retire because you're a piece of shit.
Nchukwi, not Park, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Aguilera versus Harris.
What a fight,
dude.
Carlston Harris should be on everybody's radar.
That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, long limbs.
Yeah, dude. What a fantastic transition.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. When he snuck in that anaconda choke, choke, you could just see right away how tight it was.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of it was.
Who yelled guillotine? Someone in the commentary booth was like, "Go guillotine!" And I was like, "Come on, dude."
Really?
I feel like it had to have been Anik because I feel like DC knows what's going on.
Had to have been Dominic Cruz.
Could be.
I don't know.
Just overconfident in his awareness of what's going on.
I'm just team Keith Peterson, so.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, dude, I was really impressed with Harris. Aguilera got tagged, was wobbly, and after he got tagged, it just seemed like he never recovered from that.
Yeah, well, because he didn't really get a chance, right? Because he was like probably a little concussed, tried to reposition, ate a couple more shots, still concussed, repositioned, ate a couple more shots, and was like, I need to change something. Let me shoot on a takedown. And he just had nothing behind it, right? Because he's fucked up. And I kind of didn't like Dominic Cruz. He's like, you got to run through those takedowns. You got to run through them. It's like, yeah, dude, the guy's like rocked right now. You don't think he knows that? You don't think he's in the UFC and knows how to shoot for a takedown? Like, he's rocked. He probably physically couldn't run through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Something wasn't firing.
Yeah. I mean, he was getting, like you said, he was getting tagged. Sneaky shots, too, from Harris. Super sneaky shots.
When he rolled over and he snuck in that anaconda choke, like I was saying, even then, you could see it in his eyes that he was still trying to regroup. And maybe he was thinking, like, okay, this is what I should do, but his body wasn't doing it. It just seemed like he was, like, staring off and not really, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. We've been there.
No, yeah. I mean, he was kind of gone. And this is now, anaconda and Darce chokes, very similar, right? They're just flipped. Last win was a Darce choke. Comes into this, gets an anaconda choke. This dude's sneaky.
Again, long limbs,
I'm excited to see this guy grow.
Limbs.
And did you hear what they were talking about before the fight?
What?
How he's like, I grew up either 5 or like 10 brothers and sisters. Like sometimes we get 2 meals a day, sometimes we get 1, sometimes we get no meals. And then here we are in the UFC, and he got a performance of the night bonus, extra 50 grand. Come on.
Feel good story, man.
Yeah.
Feel good story. And this is, again, I love the sport, man. And I'm a little biased. But I think about last night, for example, with boxing.
Yeah.
And I think about how many people were like, you know what? What time does Canelo start?
Yeah.
And they hop on just for the Canelo fight.
I did that.
Celebrate. Dude, with my boy Tommy Rush, because he had hit me up. He's like, hey, barbecue and fights at my place, swing by. And I was like, cool, what time does the Canelo fight start?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to watch
undercards,
the UFC fights, before that. But the way that you start hearing the backstory for a lot of these fighters, you watch them come up within the UFC, you start kind of being invested in a lot of these fighters' careers. With boxing, not so much. A lot of people don't care. That's the time where you get the barbecue going. That's the time where you start cracking the drink open. That's the time when you mingle and everybody's socializing. Oh, wait, the Canelo fight's starting now. Everybody sits down, quiets down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I feel like with mixed martial arts fans, we tune in more for an entire card, and you really get to enjoy fighters. And you'll tune in for Michelle Waterson that's fighting.
Yeah.
You'll tune in for Dominic Reyes because you've been paying attention to Yuri Prohaska as well. Mm-hmm. You tune in for a Glover Teixeira. You tune in for so many more fighters in mixed martial arts than you do in boxing.
Yeah, and it's the bittersweet thing about it, right? Because then you get moments like Gillespie, right? Who I've always been a fan of, right? He's got a very impressive style. and you get that high of him like pushing through an absolute grueling grappling match, pushing through, getting the win. You can see he's like on the verge of tears, talking about he was unsure about his skills and like how he could compete anymore. You get that high, and then you get that low with Cowboy Cerrone, right? Because you care so much about Cowboy, and then you see him go out like this, and it's just like, but that's what makes it so good. You know, that video I sent you, speaking of the Jiří Procházka, dude, those behind the scenes shots of Dominic Reyes after it's like camera stays on him, and you see what these guys go through, and it's like, dude, that's why it takes a lot for me to like shit on a fighter's performance, you know, if they are like willing to risk it, you know. Obviously I did with the Maurice Greene versus Lima fight, but most of that's just joking. But and the Nchukwi is another story, but that goes beyond like what he's willing to do to go in there, right? Ultimately that gets respect, but man, that's a heartbreaking video to watch. And I wasn't even really a big Dominic Reyes fan, you know. Tune in for his last few fights once he started getting real popular. But if I'm being honest, I watched the Weidman fight when he fought Weidman because of Weidman. The John Jones fight because it's John Jones fighting and it's witnessing greatness, honestly. The Jan versus Reyes, you know, honestly watching that more for Jan's sake, to be honest. And then the Jiří fight, clearly I was watching that more for Jiří.
Dude. That's your man crush, though.
Like I'm gonna miss one of his fights, but I mean, at this point, that video alone, and honestly that fight too, you know, Dominic Reyes, personality wise, never really grew on me, if I'm being honest. Like the way he doesn't carry himself in a bad way. No, you know, he doesn't talk a bunch of shit. He's very mild mannered, right? He's just very mellow. So you could argue that there's not like a ton of character to latch onto there. But that being said, he went 5 hard rounds with John Jones in a fight that a lot of people thought he won. Coming off of that, he fights Jan Blachowicz, and I think that's kind of where I started tapering off of him a little bit, because going into that fight, it seemed like he kind of felt like he was the champ, and that he was so far above everybody else, and that's kind of like the vibe I was getting, even if it wasn't trying to. That's kind of the vibe I got. But see what he went through after that fight, and then to come back against a killer like Jiří Procházka and just put on the fight that he put on, and where he ended up going through in that fight. Yeah, and that alone, you know, I'll probably tune into his next fight, probably rooting for him, depending on who it's against, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Tune in the next fight, and also hoping that he bounces back and becomes a feel-good story as well. Yeah,
exactly. Because man, that was, and you see in that when he's in there with his corner just like this, because his eye is way worse than Billy Joe Saunders, right? He took that spinning back elbow directly to the eye socket, and it was broken, and his nose is broken, and he looks like he got hit by a train, right? Like he got rolled under a train. And Jiří comes over and he says, thank you. And he says, thank you back, you know, while he's probably in so much pain, you know, the adrenaline subsiding. And then Yuri's like, nice counters. And it's like, man, what a fucking sport, dude. What a crazy video.
It's insane. Before we end this, Will, just have one question for you for Will's wisdom.
Yeah.
One question, and that's Claressa Shields.
Oh, yeah.
So she's fighting here in a month.
Mm-hmm.
How far does Claressa Shields go in the sport of MMA?
As far as the division that she fights in is willing, because she's big, you know. I don't know what she's going to fight at, 145, 155, I don't
145?
know. Is she fighting at 145?
Pretty sure it's 145.
That's better than 155. All right, I think Kayla Harrison is even bigger. Yeah, like I said, she's as far as she can go as far as her division lets her, I think. Because, yeah, I don't know.
It's a tough one, right?
Yeah, it's tough because skill-wise, sky's the limit, you know?
Oh, I think it might be 155 then.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was 155.
Might be 155.
So, I mean, let's be real. How many 155 female fighters can you name?
Kayla Harrison.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. True.
And if you asked me the same question, I'd have the exact same answer. So the sky's the limit, talent-wise and skill-wise, I think. And I think ultimately the fact that the division is very shallow is going to be beneficial to her because you don't want to go straight to the Wolves, right? If she was like a 135er, she'd probably be fighting top tier right away just because of her resume. And not really get a chance to grow in the sport as far as her skill sets go, grappling and takedown defense and stuff like that. But the fact that it's shallow, she's going to have long periods of time to grow her skill set for MMA before having to fight crazy top tier talent. But I'm excited to watch her.
Me too. I'm excited to tune in and watch her. Good for PFL. It's another star that they're able to bring in and draw some more attention. And I think we've been seeing that there's talent outside of the UFC. We continue finding this out, right? Whether it's a Yuri Prohaska coming in or whether it's an Anthony Pettis going out and getting beat, or we just continue seeing there's some talent outside of the UFC. So don't sleep on the PFL. Don't sleep on Bellator. Don't sleep on a lot of these other organizations out there rising and what they have to bring to the table as well. Yeah,
definitely. It's a win pretty much everywhere.
Yep. Well, that's all I got, man. Do you have anything else?
Do we want to talk about the card next week real quick? Just kind of preview that.
What do we have coming up? What do we have coming up?
We have UFC 262, Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Michael Chandler for the vacant lightweight title. Co-main event got bumped because they had to reschedule the Nate fight. Tony Ferguson versus Benil Dariush.
Still a
Jack
banger.
Hermansson's, great fight. Jack Hermansson's fighting Edmund Shabazian, which is going to be awesome because I really want to see what Shabazian learned from his Derek Brunson fight. Terrible matchup for him. I cannot believe they're giving him Hermansson after the Brunson fight, but maybe Dana just hates Edmund that much. Then we got
not Edmund, but Edmund. His trainer.
Chikagian versus Araujo. Shane Burgos versus Edson Barbosa is one of the best matchups you could possibly make in the whole mixed martial arts world. Cannot wait for that fight. Like that, when they announced that, it's one of those like, of course that's going to be amazing. There's no way that fight. There's a lot of times matchup wise, you're like, there's no way this is going to not deliver, and then it doesn't. And you're like, shit.
Yeah.
This is one that I am not afraid to say that you can put it.
It's going to deliver.
Snip this clip if this fight doesn't deliver. You can call me an asshole, but is that Jacare on the
Jacare Souza? Yeah, back from getting that highlight knockout. Not him knocking somebody out, but him getting knocked out by our boy Kevin Lee. Yeah,
a nice step down for him to kind of see where he's at. Matt Schnell still fighting.
Matt Danger Schnell.
Yeah, that's
dude.
Crazy.
Do you remember that show
fighting
on MTV?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that was years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. And I'll be honest, no disrespect to Matt Schnell, but back then I thought he was kind of like a showy, kind of like pretty boy, like I'm an MMA fighter too kind of guy. And I didn't expect him to last this long, to be honest. I'm impressed.
And he knew that, and now he's like, look at me now, Will.
I know. He's like, I'm doing this specifically to prove you wrong. But all the respect to him for sticking through it. Rogério Bontorin, not an easy fight. Bontorin, yeah. Not an easy fight. That's the guy Kai Kara-France just fought, and it was fucking crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. Mike Grundy.
This is a fun one.
Versus Lando Venata.
This is a fun one. Yep.
If Lando can't knock him out early, that's probably a wrap because Grundy has that crazy wrestling cardio and Venata almost has negative cardio past the first round. But Grundy's striking. If I'm Grundy, I'm not even throwing a punch until I take him down at least once because Lando will find a spot if he tries to strike with him in the early goings of the first round. Lando's dangerous in the first round, so that's a fun fight.
Yep.
Antonina Shevchenko fighting Andrea Lee.
My favorite of the Shevchenko women.
Really?
I love Antonina.
Her last fight against Lipsky was sick.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Valentina Shevchenko is an absolute monster. I love watching her fight. I just feel like I don't know. I know what's gonna happen in her fights.
Yeah.
You know,
this at least
so
has
I love
like
watching Antonina.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some other fights. Sean Soriano opens the card, which is gonna be cool. Kevin Aguilar. I like Kevin Aguilar a lot. Yeah. Fun card.
Yeah. So looking forward to that one. Are we gonna do picks for this one?
Maybe we should probably talk about that in a minute once we wrap this guy up.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. If we do, it'll be posted Friday morning.
If we do.
Yeah.
But until then, that's it for this week. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And thanks for listening to another week of Story of the Fight, everybody.